There's a reason your path hasn't looked like anyone else's. There's a reason why just when you think you've reached peace, something shakes the ground beneath you. The challenges you face aren't random. They're not karma being repaid in some cosmic punishment loop. They're precise, they're intelligent, and they're designed specifically for you because the universe doesn't test multidimensional souls the same way it tests everyone else. When you carry light codes, ancient memory, and frequency that can shift timelines, your tests aren't about passing or failing, they're about refining. You're not here to just survive life, you're here to bend it. And that means the universe will strip away everything that isn't true, even if it breaks you to do it. Because your soul signed a different contract. When you're a multidimensional being, you're not just living one life. You're integrating many past, parallel, future, all layered into this one timeline. That's why your challenges feel so deep, so layered, so unexplainable. You're not just healing childhood wounds. You're clearing frequencies passed through bloodlines, civilizations, and soul groups. That's why your tests don't make sense to others. They weren't designed for others. Your soul chose a path that would activate its dormant codes through pressure. And the universe honors that choice by giving you what your ego calls too much. Because only that kind of fire can awaken who you really are. You're not being punished. You're being forged.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
One of the first ways the universe tests multidimensional souls is through early isolation. You probably felt different as a child. Maybe you were the black sheep, the dreamer, the emotional one, the too sensitive one. That wasn't a flaw. It was your first training ground. The universe separated you, not to harm you, but to keep your frequency intact until you were strong enough to carry it into the world. Isolation is often the first sign that you're carrying something sacred. It creates space for remembrance. But here's the real test. Will you mistake that isolation for abandonment? Or will you use it to cultivate intimacy with your soul? Because when you learn to love yourself in the silence, no external rejection can unseat your power again. Another test is the loop of almost. You've probably noticed that things come close, opportunities, relationships, breakthroughs, but then they vanish or collapse. Why? Because the universe isn't letting you settle. Multidimensional beings are not allowed to build on unstable foundations. Your soul's architecture is too high frequency to be supported by anything that's built from fear, illusion, or ego. So the universe will let things fall apart, not to hurt you, but to refine your discernment. To ask, are you choosing from alignment, or are you choosing from lack? That's the test. Not whether you can manifest, but whether you can wait for what truly matches your frequency. Then comes the test of energy mastery. Multidimensional souls are like tuning forks. Our energy affects everything around us. That's why you may notice people projecting onto you, feeling triggered by you, or even draining you energetically. This isn't because you're weak. It's because you're charged. But the universe will test how you handle that power. Are you reactive? Do you shrink to make others comfortable? Or do you anchor into your light, calmly holding your center even when chaos swirls around you? The more light you carry, the more responsibility you hold. And the universe will test you with energetic chaos until you learn to regulate your own field. That's not cruelty, that's initiation. And then there's the test of invisibility. This one hurts, because you can be doing deep work, holding powerful frequencies, serving the collective, and still feel unseen, unsupported, even forgotten. But invisibility is a veil the universe uses to purify your intention. If everyone applauded your every move, would you still listen to your soul? If you had 1 million followers but lost your truth, would it still be worth it? The universe hides you to see what you'll do when no one's watching. Will you still show up for your mission? Will you still trust your inner guidance? That's not failure, that's soul refinement. Because if you can move mountains in the dark, imagine what you'll do when the light finds you. And finally, the universe will test you through delays. Not because you're blocked, but because your timeline is being calibrated. Multidimensional souls often receive visions, downloads, and insights years before others. You're shown the future, but the present may not be ready yet. And so the test becomes, can you hold the frequency of what you saw, even when nothing around you looks like it? Can you walk toward a future that hasn't arrived yet without doubting it's real? That's the difference between a dreamer and a visionary. A dreamer waits for signs. A visionary builds without evidence. And the universe will delay your external breakthroughs until your internal alignment is unshakable. So let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. If everything that's felt like failure was actually training, would you still carry shame? Would you still doubt the path? Or would you start walking like someone who was chosen not just to awaken but to lead? Why your soul attracts the hardest lessons and how to transmute them into power. If you've ever wondered why your life seems to break you open repeatedly, why you seem to attract the most complex, emotional, and soul-wrenching challenges, you need to understand this. The universe doesn't waste pressure on those who aren't meant to become diamonds. Your soul signed up for a higher curriculum, and higher paths demand deeper tests, not to destroy you, but to activate parts of you that can't awaken in comfort. If you feel like everything in your life has been intensified, your heartbreaks deeper, your betrayals sharper, your losses heavier, it's because your soul is wired to alchemize intensity into wisdom. You're not here to avoid pain. You're here to transmute it. And that's exactly why the universe will give you the kind of pain that cracks the illusions wide open, forcing you to remember who you've always been beneath the roles, the wounds, and the masks. The universe doesn't test multidimensional souls through surface-level distractions. It goes straight to the root. It targets your deepest attachments, your identity, your sense of control, your illusions of safety, because only when those are stripped can your true essence emerge. Have you noticed how the same patterns show up in different forms, different people, different timelines, but the same energetic lesson? That's not coincidence. That's precision. The universe is not punishing you, it's repeating the lesson until you embody the teaching. And until you do, you'll keep attracting the same energetic dynamic, just dressed in a new costume. But here's the power move. The moment you respond differently, when you don't react from trauma but from truth, you collapse the loop. That's how timelines shift. That's how karma ends. Not through effort, but through energetic mastery. One of the most brutal but sacred tests is when everything you thought you needed is taken away. The career, the partner, the tribe, the money, the identity. You're left naked, raw, and wondering if you've been abandoned. But what's actually happening is that the universe is clearing the noise so you can finally hear your own soul. It's in these moments, when everything external collapses, that we meet the version of ourselves that cannot be taken. That's the warrior. That's the part of you that doesn't depend on validation, applause, or recognition. That's the part of you that remembers, I came here with nothing and I am still enough. These tests are sacred mirrors. They don't show you what you've lost. They show you what can never be lost, your will, your wisdom, your light. Multidimensional souls also face the test of service without reward. You may be holding space for others, guiding, healing, teaching, and yet feel like your own life is in chaos. You may wonder why those you help seem to thrive while you're still battling your own shadows. But this is no mistake. The universe is teaching you unconditional transmission. Can you still serve when no one sees you? Can you still give when you feel empty? Can you still show up when you feel forgotten? These moments don't mean you're failing, they mean you're becoming pure. Because when your service is no longer tied to outcome, ego, or recognition, it becomes sacred. And in that sacred offering, your own healing becomes inevitable. Because what you give from truth returns in multidimensional ways. And here's the deepest test of all. Will you love yourself when nothing outside of you reflects your worth? When the world misunderstands you, when the path is lonely, when the mirror shows only shadows, can you still choose to see the divine within you? Because that's the final gate. That's where the ego dies and the soul fully lands. The universe tests multidimensional beings not to watch them fail, but to see if they can remember their light in the dark. And if you can do that, if you can hold your frequency when everything is falling apart, then nothing and no one can ever take your power again. That's the moment you stop being a seeker and become a transmitter. That's when the universe doesn't just test you, it begins to trust you. How to anchor your mission and lead others through the storm. There comes a moment in every multidimensional soul's journey when the tests no longer shake you the same way, not because life gets easier, but because you get clearer. You begin to feel the subtle shift. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is being birthed through this?" That question alone changes the entire landscape of your soul. Because now, you're not just surviving tests, you're extracting power from them. You're turning wounds into wisdom. You're turning your path into a blueprint for others. And whether you realize it or not, every breakdown you've endured has been chiseling your soul into a living transmission. You are not here just to awaken. You're here to guide the awakening of others. And that means your life, with all its chaos and beauty, has never been random. It's been coded with purpose. When you begin to walk this way, something else happens. The weight of the tests no longer crushes you because you start operating from mission, not survival. You understand that you're not just healing for yourself. You're healing for the field, the grid, the collective. Your shadows, once personal, become portals. Your triggers become teachings. The very things that nearly broke you become the exact medicine you carry. And that's when your presence begins to shift rooms. People feel it, not because you're perfect, but because you've been through the fire and stayed open. You've lost parts of yourself and still chose love. You faced silence and still chose truth. And the universe doesn't just test souls like that, it anoints them. Quietly, subtly, powerfully. But here's the thing. As you rise, the tests won't stop. They'll just change form. The temptations will be more subtle. The distractions more seductive. You'll be offered comfort over expansion, applause over authenticity, speed over depth, and once again your soul will be asked, will you stay true? Will you keep anchoring into the deeper current of your mission, even when shortcuts are offered, even when others seem to rise faster by selling out their essence? These are the tests of leadership, and passing them doesn't mean being loud, it means being aligned. It means saying no to what's not for you, even when it's shiny. It means trusting that the slowest path is often the most eternal. And it means remembering that your mission isn't to be liked, it's to be light. Anchoring your mission means creating from your soul, not your wounds. It means taking everything you've survived and letting it become a platform for service, not a prison of pain. You don't need to wait until you're fully healed. That's a myth. You're already enough, right now, in your rawness, in your process. The real question is, can you speak from your scars, not your scabs? Can you guide from your integration, not your trauma? Can you live your truth without needing it to be understood? Because when you do that, you become a bridge, you become a lighthouse, you become the kind of presence that helps others remember who they are, not by preaching to them, but by embodying what's possible. And that embodiment is what the universe is really testing for. That's the real graduation. So if you're watching this now, wondering if you're strong enough, ready enough, worthy enough, let me remind you, you wouldn't be here if you weren't. The tests you've faced, initiations, the pain you've known, power waiting to be claimed, the delays, the silence, the loneliness, all part of the purification. And the fact that you're still here, still listening, still breathing, still choosing light, means you've already passed more tests than you realize. Now, it's time to walk like it. No more waiting, no more apologizing, no more hiding. You are the storm and the stillness. You are the fire and the calm. You are the proof that light can live in a human body and not be broken by the dark. This is your moment. Rise.